6 years ago, I lost my brother. His name was Jordan. 24 years old, full of plans, jokes, stories, until a drunk driver ran a red light and crushed him into silence. It happened on a Tuesday around 6 p.m. They say death is instant in crashes like that. I still wonder if he had time to be afraid. Afterwards, our house in Greenville, South Carolina, changed. Or maybe we changed, and the house couldn't hold us the same way. Every corner held a memory. Every photo on the fridge became unbearable to look at. My mom started crying in her sleep. I started sleeping less. A year passed before we admitted it. We couldn't live in that house anymore. Not without him. We sold what we could, packed what we couldn't let go, and planned our move to rural Georgia, a small town called Pine Hill, where the trees outnumbered the people and cell service disappeared 5 miles before you reached the driveway. It sounded peaceful. It sounded like somewhere grief might not follow. We were scheduled to move on a Saturday. The Tuesday before, I had a dream. No, not a dream. Something more. If there's a word for when the soul gets dragged into another layer of reality, this was it. I was in my bedroom. Not a version of it. The bedroom. Every detail perfect. The crack in the paint above the closet door. The way the ceiling fan creaked at low speed. Even the streetlight outside casting that strange, familiar sliver of gold across the far wall. And I was lying in bed, unable to move. My body felt pinned like sleep paralysis, but my mind was wide awake. Then the light on the wall started to shift. From the shadows, something formed. A smoky orb, slowly rotating, like someone breathing underwater. It floated silently, then hovered in place across from me. I felt my blood run cold. Then it spoke, in my brother's voice. "I'm sending something to watch you." My mouth dried up instantly. I couldn't think, couldn't move. Every part of me screamed that this was wrong. Even though I missed Jordan every single day, I didn't want him in my bedroom at 2 a.m. as a ghost ball of smoke. Still, I whispered, "What?" Silence, for too long. Then it replied, this time darker, slower, distorted. "Damn black." I woke up choking on air. I stumbled out of bed, hit the light switch. The room was empty. The wall bare. No shadows, no shapes. Just me, sweating through my shirt, heart racing like I'd run a marathon. I told myself it was just stress, a mix of grief and nerves about the move. But something about the way he'd said those 2 words stuck with me. Damn black. I didn't understand it, but I couldn't forget it. We moved that weekend. Our new house was a modest 1-story home tucked into the trees about 40 minutes south of Atlanta. No sidewalks, no street lamps, just gravel and forest. Our neighbors were scattered far enough apart that you couldn't see another house from ours. Only hear the occasional hum of a pickup truck on a nearby road. The house itself was quiet, simple. A deep, wraparound porch, wood-paneled walls inside. Everything smelled like cedar and dust. The second we pulled into the driveway, she appeared. A small, black cat. Thin but healthy, fur like velvet, eyes like gold coins. She was sitting at the foot of our front steps, as if she'd been waiting for us. Tail curled neatly around her paws, head tilted slightly. I'd always liked cats, but I'd never owned one. Still, she walked right up to me and rubbed herself against my shin like we were old friends. I crouched down. "Well, hey there." She didn't meow, just purred. I scratched behind her ear and she leaned into it. From that day on, she was around. Not constantly, she didn't live with us, but she'd show up every evening, usually just before sunset, and stay on the porch until I left food out. Sometimes she followed me to the edge of the forest and back. Always quiet, always watching. We never named her, but she felt significant. About a month after we moved in, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of coughing. Rusty, our dog, had a collapsed trachea. It made his breathing rough sometimes, and he'd go into coughing fits that sounded worse than they were. I kept his medicine by my bed just in case. I got up, sleepy but used to the drill. But he wasn't in his bed. I checked the living room. Nothing. Kitchen, empty. Bathroom, no paw sounds, no rustling. I didn't check my mom's room. I didn't want to wake her if Rusty had curled up near her feet. But the cough, now I heard it again, sounded like it was coming from outside. I walked to the sliding door in the kitchen. It was open, just a few inches. I knew I'd locked it the night before. I knew it. I grabbed a flashlight, slipped on shoes, and stepped onto the porch. "Rusty," I called. The woods swallowed my voice. Another cough echoed down the gravel road, raspy, wet. I followed the sound, heart in my throat. The flashlight beam flicked left to right, trees, brush, dirt. The gravel cracked underfoot. The path ahead stretched into blackness. "Rusty, come on, boy." And then, closer than before, a growl. I swung the light toward the sound. A fox, standing right on the path, staring at me. Its fur was a deep red, glowing faintly in the beam, eyes fixed on mine, unmoving. Then something brushed against my calf. I looked down. The black cat. Her tail was bristled, back arched, a quiet hiss forming in her throat. Her posture was completely different, tense, aggressive, like a different animal entirely. I bent down to pick her up. "Come on, let's go." She didn't move. I looked back up. The fox was gone. In its place stood something else. It had the body of a coyote, but ruined. Patches of skin were missing. One leg dragged as it walked. Its jaw hung open, unhinged. One eye socket was hollow. The other was glowing, red. It stepped toward us. The cat's growl deepened. I was paralyzed. Then it spoke, a garbled, wet voice. "Damn. Black." Exactly like in the dream. Before I could even scream, it turned and bolted into the woods. My flashlight caught the last glimpse of fur and bone before it vanished. Not a single leaf rustled in its wake. The trees looked untouched. The cat relaxed instantly, rubbed against my leg again, like nothing had happened. I picked her up and ran back to the house. Back inside, I cracked open the door to my mom's room. Rusty was there, asleep at her feet. The thing outside had never been him. I barely slept. I held the cat in my arms, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel alone. Over the next few days, I buried myself in research. I didn't tell my mom. What would I say? I read about skinwalkers, witches, forest spirits, creatures that steal voices, mimic loved ones, lure you out. I read Native American lore, Appalachian folklore. Every version told the same story. Don't answer the voice. Don't follow the sound. Don't trust what looks familiar when it comes from the dark. Whatever that thing was, it had mimicked Rusty's cough. It had waited, and if I'd gone farther into those woods without the cat, I think I wouldn't have come back. She still comes, every night. Sometimes she stays on the porch. Sometimes she sits at the tree line and stares into the darkness like she's waiting for something to return. Or daring it to. I still haven't seen that thing again. Not a trace, but I think she scared it off, or marked me as protected. I don't know. I don't ask questions anymore. I just leave a can of food out for her every night. The label says fancy feast, turkey feast in gravy. The ironic part, that cat, she showed up on Halloween.